Welcome ratbags to the Conan Exiles 4 places you need to visit tutorial guide. Today we're going to be taking a look at some of the 4 most interesting places I find. There are even more than I'm showing you today, but these are the 4 that I like the most. Even before the addition of the Frozen North expansion, the Exiled Lands is a huge place with many things to discover, but we're going to be showing you some really high level stuff on this occasion. Depending on what level you are, you can maybe visit some of these a little bit earlier, but most of them aren't recommended to you at least level 20 to 30. We're going to be heading west along the river. Each one of these I'm going to show you guys how to get there from the actual southern spawning points. You should be in this area quite a while leveling up until at least maybe level 10, level 15, maybe even level 20. It's always advised to get your XP up, get all the stats ready for your adventures into some of these dark and horrible places. Keep running west underneath the actual broken bridge and you should see a second and third bridge going across. Rather than bridges, they're actually more of a entranceway. You can see on the map here there's nowhere else to go, it's a dead end, and that's where you need to go now. There's not much resistance up to this point, maybe a few shellbacks and pygmy men and possibly one bandit camp or 2, so it shouldn't be no problem getting here. Once you do get here, you have got an enemy encampment to contend with from the Yog religion. There is some loot and obviously you'll gain XP, and if you're looking for some certain thralls you can come here and pick up certain armourers and a certain priest, as well as obviously fighters. Once you get to these steps, you're going to be entering the Dregs. This is a dungeon added a few months ago that I covered and showed a tutorial for. Once you get into this section here, you'll come across one of the ghostly images that litter the Exiled Lands. These are like little story moments that show you what's going on in the game or what may have happened in the past. As you can see here, it's a gruesome end for this captured prisoner. You need to actually shed some blood yourself to actually open up the portal. Either lead one of the mobs or bandits from outside to follow you, or club one of them and drag them over and then kill them. You can solo this dungeon if you're around level 30, anything below that, level 20 onwards, you may need 3 or 4 of you, and anything below level 20 you're going to need 6 or 8 of you to survive. There's lots of lizards, creatures in here, albino ones, they all give you reptile leather and you're going to need that for later on. And if you can make it through the environmental puzzles, which are pretty simple and basic, pull a lever, make the water rise, swim through to the next section, you'll be rewarded with a boss fight against the abysmal creature. The Abysmal Remnant unlocks reptilian armour as well as a special sword and a dagger. It'll also give you resources like the Abysmal Fang and Eyeball, which you need to craft these weapons. You're going to need to defeat this boss 3 times to unlock everything available. The first level of defeating it gives you some of the resources, the second level gives you the recipes for the armour, and the third time you defeat it will unlock the sword and the dagger. So if you're brave enough to go through the Dregs, that is where you need to head west of the map. It's fairly hard, high level dungeon to face, certainly something you won't be doing too early on, but it is very rewarding. So you've faced the Dregs and managed to survive. What do you do after that? Well, actually you could probably do this one first. This is a great way to level up your XP and get access to a lot of recipes early on, particularly if you're looking for different types of thralls. The only trouble was getting here. Again, you need to follow the west path alongside the rivers, but this time instead of going towards the Dregs, you're going to head up this small incline here and keep following it upwards. For this you are going to need a lot of water. Now remember, I have got the commands on just to make this tutorial a lot easier and show you exactly where to go, but you definitely need 6, 7, maybe even 8 pouches of water to make it to this location, unless you're in a large group or you're quite a high level and you've already put some points into your actual vitality. And grit. You are going to face hyenas, maybe a few spiders, maybe even some scorpions, and quite a large tribe of actual mobs. Being quick on your feet does matter, but like I said, be careful of the actual temperature system that's now in place. You can overheat very quickly, so you may need to even build a few bases and just take shelter until the sun goes down, or maybe even attempt it at night time. Your aim is to get to the west side of the map, the furthest point you can. Once you see the big temple wall in front of you, that is the Forbidden City. Do not turn right into there. We'll be covering that in a separate video as it's so large and it's actually really important that we'll visit that separately. Keep going left though, keep going straight on, and you should start to see Algar's Overlook. This is the first waypoint that you're going to notice on your way to the western location that we're visiting. There's a few bits and bobs around here, a large tribe to the left alongside the cliffs, as well as a actual emote. If you look down now, that is where the Dreg temple is, or dungeon, so you can see exactly how far you've come west. There's not much resources around here other than maybe some aloe leaves, but you can scout around if you want to. If you go towards the little ruins here, this is exactly where you unlock the brand new emote. It's a special dance, and if you carry on going forward, you'll come across the enemy encampment. There is around 8 to 10 mobs here, and there will be a ritualist that you can unlock and take with you if you so wish. Once you've unlocked the actual emote though, you want to turn around behind you and start heading back west. So you'll actually be going to the map's furthest west point. There's two little places you can go, left or right. Do not go left, do not go through the green wall. The green wall is the boundary. If you go through it, you will die. So don't do what I did here. I just kept it in to show you guys exactly what it is and what it does. Stick that to your left though. You always want that on your left while going to this location. Keep climbing up the mountainside. There should be a small path. You can survey your surroundings and look behind you and see how far you've already come and how high you're starting to reach. You do have the Forbidden City on your right hand side. It is a very dangerous place. You're going to need lots of resources and you're going to need to be well prepared before going there. One of the quickest ways to actually get prepared is go where we are going for the XP loot and the grinds we're going to be taking. So sticking to the left or the west side, absolutely make sure you've got enough water at this point. If you still are missing maybe, at least 4 or 5 water canteens, it might be preferable to go back down and refill them. You are going to need water. These are some of the hottest parts of the desert environment, and it will make you overheated extremely quickly. You do not want that obviously, as it will start to cause you to lose health. Remember to avoid that green wall, but you always want it on your left hand side. There aren't a particularly large amount of mobs, not at this section here. Apart from a few scorpions, you should be able to avoid most creatures without any trouble. There really isn't that many. It's one of the features of Conan Exiles they still haven't maybe remedied. It does need more of a random location of some of these creatures and more presence of them in certain parts. Some areas are fine, some have lots, but other areas are pretty much devoid of life. So there's the scorpion, took it out there in one hit, but you're going to need much more than that if you don't have the admin commands on like I do. Once you get to this place, you should see the tree on your left. That is where you want to go. Do not go right, you need to make sure you stay to the left hand side. See on the map now, we're well west of the actual area that we need to be, and we just need to go up a little bit more north till we reach our location and destination. This is one of the dry parts again, so you'll come across more scorpions, maybe a few hyenas, so be very careful when going through this section. There are some resources like wood and stone, and on the right hand side you will find some ironstone, but as you come up you will see why we've come here. Welcome to the Stygian City. Otherwise known as the Relic Hunters City, but usually full of Stygian warriors and worshippers of Set. You can see on the map it is a very large area indeed, and this is where you're going to do a lot of time grinding XP. The city is huge with so many mobs, it will take you a long time to clear it all. Best bit of advice is to make a camp somewhere safe nearby and just use it to keep coming back here to take on some of these mobs to gain XP. Not only that, there's obviously a lot of loot chests as well, so there's lots of resources available, and this city is filled with named thralls that will give you better items and unique recipes. You will need to be careful though, it is definitely a challenging environment, so make sure you've definitely got a bed to respawn on rather than actual just bed rolls, otherwise you may end up despawning back to the original starting point. In this north section of the city there's plenty of water to restock and refill your supplies, so make sure you do. Make sure that you're very aware of all the mobs around you. Now the new system has the AI very dangerous, it does become a lot harder to take on just one group, as they often call on other groups to come and attack you. Unfortunately you can't access any of the buildings. I hope they change that in the future. I think it'd be really cool to go inside some of these towns and buildings and just find people sitting in them or extra loot. Maybe it's something they just won't be able to do, but the area is really cool and gives you some good ideas for building something similar yourself. If you can make it, the Relic Hunter City is well worth it. You've just got to get here, that's the hard part, and just make sure you've got a decent spawn point so you can carry on getting as much XP as you want. Like I said, there's lots of good opportunities to get special thralls here, as well as a Priest of Set, so it's a really important place to come to, and it will get you XP, it will get you leveled up very quickly indeed. Just remember, it's not Assassin's Creed and there isn't bales of hay everywhere. If you take a jump or a fall, you may kill yourself just like I did. Next up, we have got one of the more scarier places, particularly if you're not fond of spiders. The Deathwhisper Ruins are located east of the map. You're going to be following the actual rivers along the south until you find the inlet of the river that actually starts heading in north. So it's a fairly easy one, this one. You'll come across some bandit camps until you cross the river. That's when you're going to find a little bit more higher level mobs, but nothing too serious. You can pretty much outrun them apart from the hyenas. Depending on where you spawn on the map, you basically want the statues, the large guardian statues with the great big scimitars or spears. They need to be very west of you or always to your left. So go past them. I spawned quite west of them, so I had to keep going past. Go across the river. Once you've gone across the river, you should come to this location here. You can see it on the map, it's on that little point. Find the little rise upwards, be careful of the shellbacks, and like I said, there is quite a high concentration of hyenas. You may occasionally find a few rhinos up here as well. Be careful, if they get you, if they're crippling attack, the hyenas can do a lot of damage, so it's advisable that you maybe at least level 10 to 15, and for the actual dungeon part you really should be at least level 20. Now there is a Defari camp to the right hand side, and it's one of the first easy locations to find a pit of Yogg. So if you're a Yogg and you want to do anything or you want to try and gain favour, it's a very quick place to actually chuck bodies and offerings to the god of Yogg. There's around 6 to 7 mobs around here, and that's pretty much all there is. There's nothing too special. Once you've finished looting that area, start heading towards the actual point there. You can see it in the distance. You've got the big towers made out of the actual stone, and you should be following the river going upwards. Now there's many places you can go this direction. You can take the left hand side and you can see the rise going up in the distance. You can take the middle, or you can keep following the river more south. You are gonna decide for yourselves. I'm gonna take the river side. I'm gonna take the right hand side because there's a big encampment of mobs and creatures that I want to get some XP from. But if you're not looking for that, if you're looking just to get to the actual ruins, quickly avoid this area then, as it will take quite a while to clear it out. There's a multitude of enemies here, at least 20. In terms of their races and classes, there's a big mix of different types here. None of them are particularly set, so be careful when you're looting this area. There is a bit of loot to be had, but again nothing too special, and you will find some decent NPCs if you're looking for blacksmiths or armourers. Once you've cleared that area, you want to head underneath this little entranceway here, and when you get here you should see the big ruins that you're heading for. You will encounter a few spiders outside, and so obviously if you're scared of them, get ready because they're a precursor to what to expect. Honestly, you've never seen so many spiders in your life. It's not the actual ruin entrance you're looking for, it's the cave to the right though. There is no entranceway that way, you have to go through this cave here, and you can see there is another encampment if you really want to clear it out, but we're going to go ahead and straight into the Whispering Ruins. You're going to need a dancer to come in here, maybe because of all the corruption you're going to gain. If you don't know what corruption is, go and check out some of my other guides and tutorials. I'm going to be going through every single aspect of Conan Exiles and what to expect. You will need plenty of lights to get through here, and there are, like I said, 20 to 30 spiders in here. Not just spiders though, there are other mobs too which you have to deal with, including skeletal warriors. The area is quite large, while the ruins are quite big themselves to explore. I'll leave you to explore it on your own. We're going to carry on through the caves, and this is a good spot to find ironstone as well as some other resources like brimstone, and of course all the gossamer that you get from killing the spiders. So definitely come prepared to take out the spiders, that's what I really came here for. There are definitely easier spots to get some of the actual brimstone, so don't feel like you have to come here to get it. There's definitely better spots, but in one location for the brimstone, the ironstone and the gossamer, there isn't a better place to come. It's just very hard to get through. You definitely need to cleanse yourself when you get outside the cave, because that corruption will reduce how much health and how much stamina you actually have. And that is it for our third location in our little tutorial guide around the Conan Exiled lands. A quick heads up for this one, very close by is the actual fourth location we're going to discover. Not before finding though a actual Mitra temple. It's called Mitra's Serenity. Here you'll actually find a priestess, a very low level priestess, because of the fact that it only has 2 mobs guarding her. So if you get to this point you can take out the 2 NPCs and you can capture the priestess very easily. It does also have a temple Mitra to pray to too. So you can, if you build a Wheel of Pain nearby, set her to work straight away on actually increasing your standing with Mitra. You can see on the map there's the locations we've explored. They're all quite close together, so it's a really good spot to come to, and like I said, we're going to be facing the next and final destination. This location is home to the Undead Dragon, not to mention a boatload of actual skeletal warriors and something a little bit more slithery. It's really imposing, it's really dangerous. You need a big group with you, or you're going to need to be a high level to succeed. Not to mention you're going to need a dancer to make sure you don't succumb to the corruption. The corruption reduces your health and your stamina permanently, so you are going to need the dancers to keep going, keep forward, so you don't just get killed by the mobs. When I said about slithery, there you go, you can see it in the distance. I'm not going to show too much more. You can find out for yourself how hard the large snake is to fight. The actual dungeon or temple or ruins is quite large. There are a significant amount of the skeletal warriors, so you'll get lots of XP from killing these guys, and there are some loot chests. Be warned, there's one of these guys too. In fact, there's a few of them, so absolutely take care when going through here and make sure you've got lots of spawn points ready to actually place down. There are a couple of the talking stones as well, so they'll give you extra lore and extra info about what has happened here, and this is basically the Undead Dragon's arena. You're going to need a lot of spears, maybe some tridents, and a hell of a lot of arrows. You can strafe him and fight him that way, and making sure you're hiding behind the pillars, but again be careful, the skeletal warriors do outline all around that area. There are some decent armour pieces in loot chests around that area. It is still very hard to actually get through those, just be warned. That is it for the first 4 locations. There are many others, there are many different types, and that was a real mixed bag of difficulties. In fact, there are probably very difficult places to go to, but there's some of the more interesting ones I found. I'll be back with even more locations for Conan Exiles, and we'll be taking a look at the Frozen North locations. I am Jade Plays Games, thank you for watching, and I'll see you very soon.